All right, so first things first, let's take a look at what all of us are doing today. So whether you're in class or you are online, I'm going to be talking to you and reviewing with you for about 20 minutes. Honestly, probably not that long today. Afterward, if you are an online virtual kid, you need to make sure that you still submit your attendance. In-person kids no longer have to submit their attendance ever unless you're homesick one day. Then that one day you're homesick, you have to submit attendance on Schoology. After we do that, all of you are going to log into Edgenuity. You're going to do the next lesson, which is the instruction. So it's intro to functions instruction, and you don't need to submit your notes. Okay. And that's it. Any questions with what we're doing today? Some of you are still a little behind, and so you need to make sure that you get caught up as soon as possible because this assignment will be a 0 if it's not completely done by tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m. So just keep that in mind, okay? So make sure that you are getting yourselves not behind, okay? If you do a little bit every day to get over the hump, then you really should be okay. All right, so you don't need to write this down unless you really want to, okay? This is a review from yesterday. I just kind of want to remind you again the difference between a function and not a function. And then also domain and range, because that was kind of confusing. So if you just sit and listen, you really should be okay. You're more than welcome to write this down though, if you want to. All right, so number 1, decide whether the relation is a function, yes, no, and then explain. So can someone raise their hand and tell us how, not the answer, but how do I figure out if this is a function, yes or no? What do I do? Kip.
If any of the x's are repeating.
Okay, so the rule is to be a function, the x's cannot repeat. So remember, when you have a list of points, you have an x, y, x, y, x, y, x, y, x, y. So you want to just look at your x's. So I don't care about you, 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 I don't care about you. We don't care about the y's, we just care about the x's. So let's just look at the x's. I have -5, -4, -3, -1, +1. So guys, what do we think? Yes or no? Is it a function? Yes, it is a function. It says explain why. Because the x's didn't repeat. That would be my answer. Okay? All right. Now, this one. So, decide if this is a function, yes or no. I have an equation, y equals x plus 2 with inputs of x equals 2, x equals 3, and x equals 4. Does anyone think they know if this would be a function? This is weird. Only one person thinks? All right, Kip, go for it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a function because if you do like all the points and stuff, if you like rearrange them with the like new problem, I don't think any of them would be like overlapping.
Okay. I think that everything you said sounded very intellectual and very mathematical, but I think you just overcomplicated a ton. Like you could just be able to look at it without even really using your brain and decide. I think you were just trying to overcomplicate it. It's not that hard, I guess. It's a little bit more obvious. Luis, do you think you know?
I think it would be a function because if every time you go down like a number, you do like 2 plus 2 is 4, and 3 plus 2 is 5.
Okay. So Luis, you are right. It would be a function, but again, you overcomplicated it a ton too. Ron? Exactly. The rule to be a function is that your x's do not repeat. What are your x's? 2, 3, 4. They did not repeat. So yes, this is a function because the x's didn't repeat. Do you see how they didn't repeat the x's? 2, 3, 4. That's it. So sometimes, guys, even though you're in 9th grade algebra, it doesn't have to be as complicated. Maybe it's a little bit more obvious. Okay. This one. Let's decide whether this is a function. So you just have to look at it. Luke, what do you think?
It's not a function because it doesn't pass the vertical line.
Because it doesn't pass the vertical line test right here. Or you could say that 2 repeats twice. That's the reason as well. But basically, it does not pass this vertical line test. This dot touches this line in 2 spots. No, that's not okay. All right, next one. Now let's do the harder stuff. Let's find the domain and let's find the range. So domain and range. First of all, domain, is that X or Y? Good. That's something you have to memorize, okay? Domain is X. What is range? Y. Okay, so that's the first thing you have to realize when you do a problem like this. Second thing you have to realize is, okay, how am I going to write my answer? Am I going to write my answers as a list of numbers like 0, 1, 2, or am I going to have the inequalities? Inequalities. You're going to have the inequalities because do you see how your line is all connected here? So you only have numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, an answer like that if you just have dot, 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 and no lines. Okay, so if you have inequalities, domain is X, so X is in the center, range is Y, so Y is in the center, and your alligators always eat to the right. Okay, they always eat in that direction because you have the smallest number and then the biggest number. So let's do domain. Domain is X. Here's your X-axis. So how far to the left does my picture go? And then how far to the right does my picture go? -3 to +2. Do you see how as far left it goes to the -3? As far right it goes to the +2. You can draw a box around this one to maybe clarify because there are no arrows. So it goes from -3 to +2. Good. Now let's do the range. The range is Y. The Y-axis is up and down. So how far low do you go and how far high does your picture go? Can someone raise their hand if they think they know this answer? Mason, go for it.
-3 and 1.
I'm sorry?
-3 and 1.
Perfect. -3, oops, sorry, +1. Good. How far low you go is -3, and the picture goes as high as +1, so -3, +1. Okay, now let's do a word problem. We haven't done one like this together yet, so I want to kind of go over it. This is one more tiny detail that you did learn last year, but I just want to make sure we all know this, okay? So the function y equals 65x plus 50 represents the cost y in dollars for x hours of plumbing work. Identify the independent and the dependent variable. So I have to figure out the independent and the dependent variable. So we talked about this in the notes yesterday too. Independent. Does anyone remember, was the independent the X or the Y? The X. Okay, so good. The independent was the X, which means, ladies, do you have a question?
No.
Okay, do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the dependent, was that the X or the Y? The Y, okay. So all you have to do when you want to figure out what the independent and the dependent variables are is just look in your problem and see what word does the letter X stand for and what word does the letter Y stand for. So can someone raise their hand if they know what word does the letter X stand for? Kip, what do you think?
Independent?
Right. So what word in this problem does X stand for?
Hours?
Right, because it says X hours. So the independent variable are the hours. Okay, the dependent we said is the Y. So can someone different raise their hand and tell us what word does the Y stand for? Stacy? It says right here, cost Y dollars. Yeah, so you could say the dependent is the cost, or you could say it is the dollars or anything like that. That's fine. Perfect. Okay. Now, the domain is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the range? What do you think I need to do to find the range if they tell me what the domain is? Vaughn? I'm sorry?
I don't know.
Okay. Louis?
With the domain is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes, the domain is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, and the range is 5. on 65 plus 50.
Yeah, so basically Luis is saying, if you know your domain, which is X, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what is the range? So what is the Y? Well, if they tell you the X is 1, plug it in, figure out the range. What is the Y? Then plug in 2, then plug in 3. So you could do it this way. Plug in 1, so you have 65 times 1 plus 50. So my first answer is 115, and that's my range. My second one, if I plug in 2, is 65 times 2 plus 50. So it's 180. So that's my second one. Oh my gosh, this is going to take me like 5 minutes to do all these problems. So much typing. So here's an easier way. Do you guys remember last year when you typed this equation into your y equals? Does that ring a bell? Why don't I just type that in? 65x plus 50. Do you see how the shortcut could be just to go to the table? So if I hit second and table, all the answers, 115, 180. So for 3, the answer is 245. For 4, the answer is 310. And for 5, the answer is 375. You can do it either way. You could do it the long way and plug it all in, or you could just, I mean, you have a graphing calculator, so why don't you just use the little tricks that you know how to use a graphing calculator, if you remember this. I'll show you more of these tricks later. We'll be doing it on like a daily basis, so it'll be easier for you to remember, okay? But do you see how my range is a number, comma, number, comma, number, comma, number? That's because my domain they gave me was a number, comma, number, comma, number. So I don't write my range like this because I don't have like a, I guess from like a left side to a right side. I just have number, 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 number. So give me answer, 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 answer after I plug it in. Okay, are there any questions? So today, what you're going to do in Edgenuity is you're going to start the instruction, watch it, try to understand it. I'm hoping that it's really just going to be a review of what we talked about yesterday, okay? Some of you might have to go backwards a little bit and finish that last, quiz or whatever. I'm putting it in the grade book today, so if it's not done by tonight, your quiz from the last lesson, then it's going to be averaged as a 0, okay? So get that done first if you're not completely caught up. Yes, Lon. What do you think? For Edgenuity, do you want to take notes? If you think that you can just understand it, because it kind of is a review of what we did yesterday, I don't think you need to take notes, but you can if you want to, if you think that that would be helpful.